Justice Roberts tells us that Congress can only regulate a thing that is already in existence. It can't bring it into existence by forcing you to buy insurance in order to regulate it, okay? In other words, Congress can't originate the object of regulation. It can only regulate something that has originated elsewhere. All right, so I would like to compare Congress's enumerated powers. You recall, Congress has 17 enumerated powers plus the necessary and proper clause. Let's take a look at those. Well, wow. It turns out that all of them give Congress the power to create, to originate the object of regulation, but not the Commerce Clause. Not the Commerce Clause, the clause that was the basis for the Constitution in the first place. The most important thing on the framers' mind, that's the one area where Congress doesn't have the power to originate. It's only a secondary power. Who is he kidding? Well, whatever you think about him as a justice, he's a pretty lousy historian. Okay. Congress can only regulate commerce that already exists, i.e. commerce that was created by the private marketplace. Do you see a little laissez-faire creeping into Justice Roberts' opinion? Do you see a return to the 19th century? Sure you do. What's really going on here? It's either the Tea Party agenda to downsize the federal government, or it's reinventing states' right to federalism and bringing back the Articles of Confederation. Well, no, that's unfair. Bringing back the Confederate Constitution. In the language of the Affordable Care Act itself, Congress specifically treated the failure to buy insurance as the sanction for that. It was called the penalty 18 times. It was called the tax 0 times. Well, that's not entirely true. It was called a tax in the House version. But when it got to the Senate, they changed it. They changed it from a tax to a penalty because, you know, the Tea Party senators in Congress had pledged allegiance to Grover Norquist's line in the sand that they will never raise taxes. And so they could not impose it as a tax. But Grover Norquist didn't say anything about penalty, so they could propose it. Remember, the individual mandate was the brainchild of the Heritage Foundation, the conservative think tank. This was their solution: privatize the healthcare market. And none other than Mitt Romney picked that up and had it enacted in Massachusetts. So there is poor President Obama carrying a right-wing agenda, and now he's being criticized for it.
States, if you want to continue to participate in this Medicaid program, we are now amending our definition of the mandatory eligibles, people you must cover if they fit within the kind of below the federal poverty line, 133% of the federal poverty level. Now it's all adults who come within it. No distinction about type. You know, children were already covered, but you don't have to prove you're disabled or pregnant or any of those things. All adults. And not only though, you know, on one hand we're saying you have to cover these people, but we're going to give you 100% of the funding to do so. The federal government is going to fund at 100% the expansion and the reform, at least for the first few years. It will ultimately go down to 90%. That is so much better than even before, under the prior program. States, please cover more people and we'll give you all the money to do it. Why exactly were the red states so angry about this? What was their complaint? Well, it was raising this federalism kind of complaint that Professor Manheim talked about. Championing state rights. This is a horrible violation of states' rights. In the real policy discussions that you see going on, states were actually worried about the cost of existing eligible Medicaid people signing up as a result of the mandate. Because remember, the existing eligibles got a 50 to 75% match. So anybody signing up now, eligible under the prior categories, were still only subject to that 50 to 75% match. They would not be fully funded. And states are freaking out about their budgets. So that's what I said, even with some purple, I mean, there was definitely some kind of legitimate kind of concern and questions about what this would mean for state budgets.